Best Supporting Actor of the 2010s. Which Oscar wins in this category do I adore, and which wins do I not like so much? Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender, and it's time for another Oscar ranking video. Today I'm talking Best Supporting Actor, the 2010s. Let's start with number 10, Mahershala Ali, Green Book.
Oh, Tony, I wish you could hear yourself sometimes. You wouldn't talk so damn much.
Bullshit. I know exactly who I am.
Now, I did get some flack last year for putting this guy in my worst acting Oscar wins of all time video. I don't know if he should have been on that list. That was a bit extreme. He is perfectly fine in Green Book, a movie I didn't much care for in 2018. It was okay. I was like, all right, that can get a couple nominations or whatever. But for it to go on to win Best Picture of the Year, and then Mahershala Ali wins Best Supporting Actor all season, first of all, he basically sweeps the season for the most parts, and then he wins his second Best Supporting Actor Oscar trophy just 2 years after he won for his much better performance in Moonlight. And it didn't feel right to me. I did not understand the love for that movie, for that performance. I mean, he does what he needs to do. He shows gravitas in the role, he has some nice emotional beats. But overall, I found his performance in the film very forgettable. I remember almost nothing a few years on. And I just don't think it was worthy of an Oscar win. A much better victory in the category that year would have been Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me? That is one of my favorite performances of the 2010s. I thought he was incredible in that film, and I also thought Can You Ever Forgive Me deserved to win an Oscar for something. That would have been the category to give the movie an Oscar trophy. So especially because Mahershala Ali had just won in this category, I think we could have given this Academy Award to Richard E. Grant.
I want to dedicate this to my grandmother, who has been in my ear my entire life, telling me that if at first I don't succeed, try again.
Number 9, Christoph Waltz, Django Unchained.
These days I practice a new profession. Bounty hunter.
So here's the deal. I love this actor. He gives a perfectly good performance in Django Unchained. I adore his Oscar win for Inglourious Basterds in Best Supporting Actor 3 years before. So kind of like the Mahershala Ali thing, I didn't think Christoph Waltz needed to win another Supporting Actor trophy just 3 years later for a performance that is, to me, a lead role. I think he is in too much of Django Unchained to even qualify as supporting actor. He takes up a huge chunk of that narrative. I think a much better nomination in supporting actor that year at the Oscars for the same movie would have been either Leonardo DiCaprio or Samuel L. Jackson. Those are the genuine supporting performances in that film. I do think if DiCaprio had gotten in instead of Waltz, DiCaprio probably wins his first Oscar for Django Unchained, because everyone in the category that year had already won. DiCaprio would have been the only person who hadn't taken home the gold trophy. But of the people who are nominated in that category in early 2013, I do think the best performance, the person who should have won, was the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman for The Master. I mean, even that performance, you could argue, is more lead than supporting. He's in a lot of that movie too. But it is such a monumental screen performance that I would have preferred Hoffman to have won this one over Waltz.
That is, of course, to his creator and the creator of his awe-inspiring world, Quentin Tarantino.
Number 8, Jared Leto, Dallas Buyers Club.
You know what? You don't deserve our money, you homophobic asshole.
So I might have been kind of an outlier on this one. I didn't much care for Dallas Buyers Club in 2013. It was my least favorite of the Best Picture nominees that year by far. And like when Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto were sweeping the season in Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor respectively, I was kind of shrugging. I understood it. They're both physical transformations. Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers Club is taking a leap with that character. That is a performance that easily could have crashed and burned, could have been laughed at. But no, he is good in that movie. This isn't a bad win. I just didn't think there was anything memorable or extraordinary about that performance. Besides Bradley Cooper for American Hustle, I would have preferred any of the other 3 men in his category to have won, like Michael Fassbender in 12 Years a Slave, or Jonah Hill, who is exquisite, who is so freaking funny in The Wolf of Wall Street. But my choice here would have been that year's BAFTA winner, Barkhad Abdi for Captain Phillips. I think he took a character in that movie that could have been very one-note, and he humanizes him in a way that makes you truly care about his plight, his journey. By the end of that movie, he's not a one-dimensional villain. I just watched Captain Phillips again for the first time in 11 years. And as much as I love that Tom Hanks performance in the lead role, Abdi does an amazing job. I'm so happy BAFTA recognized him in early 2014. I think he should have won the Oscar too.
To those of you out there who have ever felt injustice because of who you are or who you love, I stand here in front of the world with you and for you. Thank you so much and good night.
Number 7, Mark Rylance, Bridge of Spies.
Visitors. You mind if I fetch my teeth?
Colonel, would you turn around, please?
So if you're interested in the weeks to come, I would like to make a video exploring the Best Supporting Actor race for 2015 that came down to Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies and Sylvester Stallone for Creed. Stallone, of course, won at Golden Globes to a standing ovation. That was one of the most memorable moments, I would say, at the Globes in the last decade. And then I think he also got a standing O at Critics' Choice when he won Best Supporting Actor there, but then he wasn't nominated at SAG or BAFTA. I don't think he got in at BAFTA either, but he got in at the Oscars, and it felt like, okay, there's not necessarily someone in this category who can easily overtake him. So at the Oscars, let's finally give Stallone a gold trophy. That would be really cool. Most of us were predicting him. I think Rylance only won at BAFTA. But then on Oscar night, Patricia Arquette said Mark Rylance, and there was some muted clapping. I liked the little moment he had with his director, Steven Spielberg, and calling him out from the stage as one of our great storytellers. I liked that moment in his speech. But like, I saw Bridge of Spies once in theaters. I didn't take to it that much. I found it kind of slow. It had a couple of nice moments. I liked the ending, but I don't remember much of that movie, whereas I do remember Stallone in Creed from 2015. He did do a fantastic job in that movie, and because he is so emotionally moving in Creed, it feels like Stallone should have won for that movie at the Oscars and not Rylance.
So for me to have the chance to work with, I think, one of the greatest storytellers of our time, Steven Spielberg, has just been such an honor.
Number 6, Christian Bale, The Fighter.
And you can't just run away because of me. He don't deserve that, right? So I will quit if you want me to quit.
So this Oscar win for Christian Bale was coming. We all knew Bale was going to take home an Academy Award at some point. I could feel it, like, okay, this guy just needs the right role at the right time, and he'll probably win. And that came in 2010 with The Fighter, a movie that pretty much everybody really liked. I liked it. It wasn't on my top 10 list of the year, but it was a good watch, and it has an amazing cast. And you knew walking out of The Fighter, it was going to win a couple things on Oscar nights. I mean, all the performances in that movie are great. My favorite performance in the film is Amy Adams, who got an Oscar nomination, but she lost to someone else from the same movie, as we'll talk about in the supporting actress Oscar ranking video. I thought about ranking Bale a little bit higher. I mean, I guess some people might have him at like 3 or 4 or something. So why is he number 6? Honestly, 14 years on, I just don't remember very much about the performance. I remember this one was also a physical transformation. He lost a lot of weight. He doesn't look like he does in The Dark Knight from 2 years prior. But in terms of like emotional beats in that movie, I think about Adams. I don't think about Bale. I can't remember a moment in The Fighter where I was completely in awe of Bale as an actor. I remember liking him in it. He's very good. This is not going to be at the bottom of my ranking. It was always going to be around the middle. But compared to like slots 5 and 4 that I'm going to talk about, I just don't think Bale is quite as memorable as those.
My wonderful wife, who's my mast through the storms of life, I hope I'm likewise to you, darling.
Number 5, Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, now that you've talked to him, do you believe everything's all right?
Not exactly.
This was a mistake. You should leave.
Way ahead of you.
Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a great movie. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. I find it to be such a blast. Everybody is doing great work in that film. The actors, people behind the scenes. Like, there's just a craft to that film I really take to, and I love to revisit it every couple years. I do think it's one of DiCaprio's best performances. He is on another level in that movie. So funny and real. Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate is doing excellent work. I would have nominated Robbie that year for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood over her performance in Bombshell. I don't know about you. And then Brad Pitt is in many ways the standout of that movie. I do feel like if Brad Pitt was going to have one acting Oscar trophy in his long career, it should have been for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, he is such a movie star in that. So much charisma, you cannot take your eyes away from him. That scene on the Charles Manson compound, the ending, like, oh my God, the last few scenes of that film. I could have put this one at 3 or 4. The reason I have it at 5 is that you could argue Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a leading role, not supporting. I've talked about this all the time on the channel. I've made lots of videos about this issue. I feel like you could argue both DiCaprio and Pitt are co-leads in that movie, but ultimately Pitt's performance wins me over so much. The category fraud of it all, this time around, doesn't really bother me.
All the wonderful people I've met along the way, to stand here now. Once upon a time in Hollywood, ain't that the truth?
Number 4, Christopher Plummer, Beginners.
I thought, oh God, I'll try anything.
Now here's something that doesn't happen at the Oscars very much anymore. A winner in an acting category for a film that otherwise doesn't do very well at the Academy Awards in other big categories like picture, director, lead actor, lead actress, whatever. Like, to actually win an acting Oscar for a movie that doesn't otherwise do very well on Oscar nominations morning, I feel like is very difficult these days. Like, your movie kind of has to get into Best Picture to have a chance at a victory in most cases. But in 2011, Christopher Plummer was so great, so charming in Beginners, as a man in his, 70s, who finally comes out of the closet after his wife dies and starts a new life for himself, and how that reflects on his relationship with his son, played by Ewan McGregor. That is such a wonderful movie. I saw it twice. It's a lot of fun and emotional at times. It has a good mix of comedy and drama, and it's one of Plummer's finest hours. And I do feel like Plummer's work in that movie could have been ignored come Oscar season, but this just felt like the right time. I mean, he would be nominated again a few years later for All the Money in the World, but this was the one time we could give Christopher Plummer an Oscar, and the man is no longer with us, and I'm happy he got to take home one gold trophy in his long and celebrated career.
When I first emerged from my mother's womb, I was already rehearsing my Academy thank you speech.
Number 3, Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
You're not calling officer of law. Breaking his own station house, Mrs. A's. Or anywhere, actually.
I do feel like the reception to 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri has been a little mixed, both at the time and now. I hear from people a lot who don't like that movie. I was not one of them. I went completely nuts for that film. I thought the screenplay was inventive and unpredictable, and I just adored everybody in that movie, including Frances McDormand, who won the Best Actress Oscar, and Woody Harrelson, who got nominated in Supporting Actor, and then Sam Rockwell, who I have loved since Galaxy Quest from 1999. He cracked me up in that movie, and I have been following his career with great admiration and interest ever since. And so it was a thrill to see 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, see Rockwell give a magnificent performance in that movie. Just awesome. From beginning to end, I think he is doing phenomenal work in that film. And then to see him basically sweep the season in Supporting Actor, I was very excited and happy for him. I thought he deserved it 100%.
When I was 8 years old, I was called into the principal's office, and my father was looking very solemn, and he said, "We gotta go. It's Grandma." And we got in the car, and I said, "What's wrong with Grandma?" And he said, "Nothing. We're going to the movies."
Number 2, Mahershala Ali, Moonlight.
At some point, you gotta decide for yourself who you're gonna be. Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
So I started this list with Ali right at the bottom for Green Book, and now he's basically at the top. Just 1 slot away from the top of the Best Supporting Actor Oscar wins of the 2010s. Moonlight was my favorite film of 2016. I mean, talk about inventive. I just used that word talking about 3 Billboards. When it comes to Moonlight, the storytelling structure is so unique and interesting, and it never feels like a gimmick. You are with that boy growing into adulthood. This film by Barry Jenkins also has an incredible ensemble of actors. Everybody's doing amazing work. Mahershala Ali is absolutely the standout, and it's so interesting to me how he basically disappears after the opening acts. But we're always thinking about him. As the story moves on, his lessons, his presence remains at the top of our mind. I mean, that last scene he has in the movie is one of the best in Moonlight. It's definitely one that has stuck with me. I mean, growing up gay and not feeling like I could tell anybody until I was around 20, 21, there were elements of Moonlight that were very personal to me. And I felt like Mahershala Ali, in his performance, showed so much empathy and understanding the way he talks to that child. I also love this Oscar win for Ali because this is a true supporting performance. He's not in the whole film. Like most of the wins, I would say, of the 2010s in this category, you could argue is a lead role, but that's not the case for Ali in Moonlight. He does extraordinary work for, 30 to 40 minutes? And then he's not in the rest of the movie, but as we cut to that final gorgeous shot and the end credits, one of the things we truly take with us walking out of Moonlight is that Mahershala Ali performance. It is a great one.
My grandma would want me to button up.
And finally, that takes me to my number 1 choice. This is one of my favorite acting Oscar wins so far this century. My number 1 choice for the finest supporting actor Oscar win of the 2010s is J.K. Simmons' Whiplash.
Count again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference!
I mean, talk about a performance that completely knocked me out. A performance that I still think about to this day in all kinds of circumstances. I mean, throughout 2014, I had been hearing amazing things about Whiplash. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in January. I didn't get to see it until I think it was Thanksgiving weekend that year. So my expectations were very high going into the theater, and this movie exceeded those expectations in every way. I love everything about Whiplash. It was my choice for the best film of 2014. I have the Blu-ray. I watch it all the time. Damien Chazelle proved his stuff in that movie. Holy cow. I mean, the storytelling, the editing, and the acting. Miles Teller gives a very good performance in that movie, but holy shit, J.K. Simmons. one of the most terrifying screen creations of the last 10 years easily. I've had some intimidating teachers in my time. Nobody quite like Simmons in Whiplash. He has the ability just from a look to make you piss your pants. And when he starts screaming, it's like, okay, I think I'm in the wrong room here. I don't know. But Simmons does such a phenomenal job in not making that character just a monster, just a villain. It is a very layered character. There are elements to that guy that make you question, like, is some of this a performance just to get the best out of his students? Does he really have some kind of vendetta against the Miles Teller character? He might scream a lot in that movie, but he's also soft-spoken at times, and you wonder if maybe he is a nice guy after all. There's just this layer between him and his students, and where the remarkable screenplay takes that character by the third act, by that amazing final 5 to 10 minutes. It is just a magnificent character beautifully brought to life by the great J.K. Simmons. I am always so happy that he won the Oscar for that spellbinding performance, and I do think it's easily the finest Best Supporting Actor Oscar win of the 2010s.
Call your mom, call your dad. If you're lucky enough to have a parent or two alive on this planet, don't text, don't email, call them on the phone, tell them you love them, and thank them, and listen to them for as long as they want to talk to you. Thank you. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what is your Oscar ranking of Best Supporting Actor of the 2010s, and we'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.